If you are a fan of softball, then you are going to love the Fastpitch TV show. We're bringing you more interviews, more videos, and more product reviews than anyone else on the planet. Sit back and get ready. Here's the Fastpitch TV show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fastpitch TV show. Now, if you found our show on Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, or another video sharing site, please check out our website. Fastpitch.tv is the place to find all of our past episodes and the place to keep up with our future episodes too. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, Softball Junk, and please visit their website at softballjunk.com. Now, I have been bringing you clinics from Softball Con for the last few months. It was a great softball conference. Please go to their website, softballcon.net, to find out more information about the conference and for updates about next year's conference. Now, this week I'm bringing you part one of a clinic put on by India Chiles. Now, India Chiles has an amazing resume as our former pro and collegiate softball player. India played for the Tennessee Volunteers for 4 seasons while at UT. She was a team captain and a 3-year starter. Now, she had some outstanding overall statistics. She led SEC in hitting with a .544 and an on-base percentage of .565 during her senior year. Wow, that's great. During that same season, India was named SEC Player of the Year and was a first-team All-American as well as a first-team academic All-American. Chiles led the Volunteers in a trip to the NCAA Softball College World Series in 2006 and was named the College World Series All-Tournament team. Now, India's batting career at her batting average while at UT was an amazing .417, including 85 stolen bases. After college, she was drafted by the Akron Racers of the NPF, where she played in 2008. Now, she's known for her speed and is a left-handed slapping specialist. So let's go to her clinic about slapping right after this word from our sponsor.
Do you need a softball bat? Do you want to save $30? SoftballJunk.com is offering an additional $30 discount off the price of all non-sale softball bats on their website. That's right, $30. So the next time you buy a bat, go to SoftballJunk.com and enter the code FPTV30 during checkout. And wham! You just put a cool $30 in your pocket.
You gotta look like a hitter on the left side of the plate. Slapping, it's a speed game, but the speed game is only the bunt and the soft slap. The hard slap, the high hops, all that is kind of considered the power game. So it's not just about, barely touching. You got to have that athletic, universal power stance, which, knee slightly bent, all of that good stuff. So try to get your kids to look like a threat, to look like a hitter from the left side of the plate. Don't give up everything of what you're going to do from the beginning. Secondly, we can go ahead and break the idea, which is always controversial, of starting in the back of the box. As a slapper, if you're going to start in the back of the box, ideally, I want my kids to get to the front chalk line, so that'll be my front chalk line in the batter's box. So when you're making contact with the ball, you want it to be around the time that your crossover foot is landing, okay? So if I start in the back of the box, then when my crossover foot lands, I'm only about even with the front of the box, so everything is usually bang-bang plays with slappers. They're usually barely out or barely safe. So we have to target down on every little tedious thing to get them safe. One of which is they have to land that crossover foot in the front of the box. So you're not considered out of the box unless you're out of the box. And in college, our coach, anytime we took practice, we did a lot of live work because all of us were right-handed natural hitters that had converted at some point to the left side. So we did a lot more live practice than our righty hitters, a ton more. We got live drills all day long. We always practice with the batter's box drawn. So we kind of understood where we needed to stand in order to get to the front of the box, because every batter's box is the same everywhere we play. So for me, I have to stand with my front foot somewhere across from this corner of the plate every single time I land in the front of the box. So I wouldn't encourage you. Now, if your kid's foot is on that chalk line, she's still considered in the box, but that is a really hard call on an umpire. So I wouldn't push it too much, but what you don't want is for your kids to land here and still have one full stride in the batter's box, because they're not maximizing their speed. They're not doing everything they can to be safe to get to first base. Does that make sense? So starting back here defeats the purpose because they're usually, so we're making contact on our crossover step, they're usually taking 1 to 2 strides before they're even out of the batter's box. So we want them making contact when this crossover foot lands somewhere near that front chalk line. An easy way to figure that out also is at the end of a batting practice, if they have the opportunity to practice with that batter's box, that chalk line should about be erased by the end of their practice if they're getting to the front of the box every single time. Now as far as footwork, so universal stance, I'm not too big as long as your feet are somewhere lined up, just like we all teach. I'm really against starting closed, front foot in front of your back foot, because as a hitter you want everything staying on your linear line, kind of like a pitcher. You want all of your power going straight. So when we start closed, a lot of times we get into this rotation movement here, okay? So universal stance here. So the first step that I work with all my kids on is just a small back step, and it's got to be small. I know some kids learn not to do anything with this foot, but I need a trigger for everything. When I swing away, when I have to load my weight back. When I'm slapping, I have to bring this foot back. I have to do something. So the thing there, so we'll keep our front chalk line here, okay, is when I'm taking my back step, if my back step is too big, then I'm not progressing forward. So if I drag my front foot all the way back to my other foot, it's considered a replacement step because I'm just replacing where my front foot was. I'm not propelling myself forward. Whereas if I take this small back step here, then I've covered some ground in the batter's box here. So this crossover step is actually considered your first running stride when you slap, which you'll have to watch that too because for most kids it's not. But if I'm going to progress forward and have this be my first running stride, I cannot drag all the way back here because I'm going nowhere really fast. So small back step is the first thing. It can just be a replay. You can just lift and put your foot down, whatever. Actually drag back just a little bit, staying on the ball of my foot so I keep my athletic stance. Okay. So small back step, and then with the crossover step, and this took a lot of practice for us to figure out at UT because we initially learned slapping with our crossover step to cross over in a straight line here, foot pointed towards the pitcher. Well, we were all having an extremely hard time learning to stay closed over the plate. So the whole idea behind staying closed at the plate is when you open up, you're losing plate coverage. So if I'm crossing over in a straight line, then me keeping my hips and my shoulder closed, this is really uncomfortable. When I'm going full speed, I'm not going to end up in this position to keep full plate coverage here. When I open up, I'm losing plate coverage. So that's when we pull off of those outside pitches. If your kids can learn to stay closed, they will attack the outside pitch. It almost looks down the middle to them. So we had to transition from learning to stand in a straight line to stepping in towards the plate and kind of angling our foot towards our shortstop. So from there, the crossover step looks something like this, rather than pointed towards our pitcher in a straight line, which is going to make us want to open our front shoulders. I crossed over here and had my foot kind of pointed towards my shortstop. This is a lot more comfortable to stay closed than this is. Now as kids get better and they get more comfortable with it and they are a lot more aggressive, then that inward stride, it may shorten a little bit, but they've got to stay away from this because all they're going to do is open their shoulders and open everything up towards the pitcher, pour the momentum towards first base, which means all day long you should throw them over the outside corner because they're going to swing and miss or hit off the end of that. So the first step is the small back step. Then you take the crossover, and this is really hard to break when you have kids that have already learned to slap somewhere, to get them to step kind of in this inward slant towards the shortstop, stepping in towards the plate, down and over the plate at contact, just like when you hit. The big thing is there's a lot more in common with the natural hitting stance and slapping than we make a lot of times. So when we're hitting, we learn down and over the plate. When you're hitting, you're learning to stay closed at contact. It's the same concept when you're slapping. With the hands, it's the same bat pad. I don't want to give you all too much of a replay from when Jenny was here, but I did crash her session yesterday. And we actually have learned or teach a lot of the same stuff. So the motion with the hands, you have to lead with your knob. A big thing with slappers is keeping your hands above the ball, obviously. We don't want to train them. Do you want to come get in your stance for a second? We don't want to train them to only hit ground balls because then you're taking away from the power game. But, so her bat path. Were a lot of you here yesterday with Jenny? Yes, no? Yeah? Okay. So I'll just go through the bat path really quick. So ready position here. The big thing that will help us all keep from popping up, same hitting wise as slapping wise, is if you learn what to do with your knob. Not taking your knob to the ball and not taking your knob in the ground because you're dropping from the start. So if you can decrease this sharp angle as your first move and flatten it out somewhere so you're bringing your knob and your hands kind of towards the pitcher, you'll keep your hands above the ball longer. So it is like the worst thing ever for our slappers to pop up because you're not putting any pressure on the defense whatsoever. Put the ball on the ground, we're putting pressure on the defense. We're increasing our chance of being safe to first base. So as a slapper here, one, I'm going to teach high hands, but I teach that with hitters also. It's a lot different than baseball. Our ball's got a lot of upspin on it. So high hands from the beginning, flatten out this angle to contact, bringing your knob towards the pitcher, so we have our hands above the ball a lot longer. And then at contact, you've got to make sure that you've got a strong wrist here, because when she breaks her wrist down, she drops her bat head. When she firms her wrist up, she keeps her bat somewhat in this flat plane for contact. So, okay, that's good. Thank you. So, as a hitter, as a slapper, that should be a common area, a consistent thing. Teaching kids not to do this from the start because you're dropping your hands and we all like to swing at this letter high pitch. Teaching your kids to flatten that angle out and bring your knob towards the pitcher, flatten that angle out to contact. We keep our hands above the ball.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. As I said, this is part 1 of her clinic. I believe there are going to be 4 parts in all, so tune in next week for part 2. Now, I have a surprise for everyone this week. Rip It Sporting Goods is giving me 18 autographed pictures of 2-time Olympian Michelle Smith. I thought that was pretty nice of Rip It Sporting Goods. So, I figured the best thing to do with them was to give them to you. As I've got one. She gave me one too. But I'm going to give these 18 out to viewers of the show. So what I need you to do is send me an email, fastpitchtv@gmail, saying, I love Michelle Smith and I want an autograph. And don't forget to give me your address, okay? That's the main reason you're emailing me, is so I can get your address. But for the first 18 people that send me their email address, I'll send you a signed picture of 2-time Olympian Michelle Smith, and she's a great lady. So make sure you send me that. And also, make sure you check out the website for Rip It Sports, okay? Now, I want to make sure everybody knows we have an app for the iPhone and iPad, as well as for the Android phones. Just go to your phone's app store and search softball to find it. Don't forget to check out our website at fastpitch.tv. Become a fan of the show at facebook.com/fastpitchtv. And follow us on Twitter, at twitter.com/fastpitchtv. That's all for today. Goodbye, and thanks for watching.
This show is a member of the Fastpitch TV network.